Right, quickly hand back over to Andy and Ian. It's now time for our first race of the day for the Nankai Tyre City Car Cup Championship. And I have to say, boys, these weather conditions don't look too promising. There's dark clouds. We're going to get a bit of saturation.
Well, I wasn't going to mention the weather, but since Scott has brought it up, there has been an ominous-looking dark cloud, which seems to be ever-growing above the Oulton Park circuit. Not unheard of to have a drop of rain here at Oulton at this time of year, so we shall wait and see. It may not arrive inside the next 15 minutes to trouble the drivers of the City Car Cup, but perhaps later on into the day we could get a little bit of moisture on the track. Plenty of drivers heading out onto the circuit, though. 28 of them set a time in qualifying. Piers Cartwright in his Citroen C1 did not for some reason, so we'll see whether or not he makes it out onto the grid. I'll run through that grid for you now as quickly as I can, because they are making their way around on the outlap from the pit lane, which here at Oulton doubles up as the green flag lap. So it's number 17, Richard Bliss on pole position, with 15, Andrew Dyer for company, a Toyota Aygo, alongside one of the very popular Citroen C1s. It's the same story on row 2, with 18, Stuart Bliss in an Aygo, and number 21, Christopher Mackenzie in a Citroen, making up the second row of the grid. Liam Browning, who raced in the championship last year, number 91, is 5th, ahead of Seb Melrose, who Ian was talking about earlier on, number 7. Rounding out the top 6 on the grid. Then it's 88, Richard Snuggs, and 66, Dan Selleck, who had a lap time disallowed in qualifying, not the only one, for exceeding track limits. So he rounds out in 8th position. 9th on the grid, number 65, Richard Jepp, and alongside him on the 5th row is number 30, Adam Reynolds. Now, row 6 is 310, John Nicholson, and 8, Adam Reeves. Row number 7, number 3, Elliot Lettis, and 63, Duncan Stone. 57, Andy Burgess, and 46, Craig Flynn make up the 8th row, ahead of 210, Charles Mackenzie, and 90, Paul Ogborn. Top 20 is rounded out by number 24, Paul Savage, and 101, Paul Martin, ahead of 23, Daniel Lockett, and 115, Bradley Porter. 131, Chris Hetherington is next, alongside 666, Stephen Turner. That's on the 12th row of the grid. Row 13 for 73, Andrew Payne, and 14, Dominic Fletcher, with 64, Bob Bannister, 25, Joe Miller, and hopefully number 13, Piers Cartwright, at the back of the grid. A big grid of cars, not very big cars, Ian, but certainly they provided some good racing in the past. Yeah. You never know. You never know. They could certainly learn a thing or two about close quarters, door-to-door racing. We saw some very close stuff last season in the City Car Cup for these 1-litre, 3-door vehicles for Toyota Aygos, Peugeot 107s and Citroen C1s. This is not to be confused with the Citroen C1 Championship, which also has jumped on board the BRSCC stable in 2022. But a slightly different set of regulations, but the cars looking very similar, and looking forward to covering some of their events as the season develops. Cars then heading towards the grid. Picking a winner out of this one is not that easy. The top 4 were within a second of each other in qualifying, and as we just saw in our first race, in qualifying times only mean so much.
Yes, if I remember right, it was dry when they were out qualifying, was it, I think?
Drying, apparently.
Yeah, because there had been, you were talking about the rain. There was a little bit of rain earlier on this morning before qualifying got underway. So maybe when the track is, as it is now, completely dry, 1 or 2 other drivers will come forward towards the front. Well, I'm just going to show Formula Ford loyalty and go for Sebastian Melrose as the winner. So, I suspect it's his first outing in a city car, so get used to.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is, but he is a relatively experienced driver in GT machinery now, and rear-wheel drive cars more than front-wheel drive. These, of course, all being front-wheel drive cars, but not the most powerful, so I think he'll be able to handle it. And 6th place, not a bad effort for, as you said, a last-minute entry. He, I'm guessing, has not had as much time in the car as some of the other drivers. Certainly those that raced in the series last year, of which there are several. Richard Bliss, for example, was 2nd in the championship last year. Didn't get himself a race win all season. Nick Grindrod saw to that, but he certainly was rapid. And there are lots of drivers out there that have a season's worth of racing under their belt in these cars. If Seb can qualify 6th, I reckon he should be able to improve from there once we go racing, which is not that far away. Last few rows. Oh, well, I asked you, and well, I mean, Richard Bliss, I know it's low-hanging fruit, this, but he is on pole, and he is the highest-placed driver from last year's championship who's racing today. So it is the obvious choice, rather, I admit. But we shall see. I mean, pole position does not guarantee a race victory, even around Oulton Park, where overtaking can be tricky. Right, red lights on, ready to go racing. On the left of shot is Richard Bliss. On the right, Andrew Dyer. The lights go out, and a busy grid of nearly 30 city cars heads to turn 1, and it's not a good start from the pole sitter. Sorry, Richard, because into the lead will go. Well, will it be the 15 of Andrew Dyer? It might not. I think that's Stuart Bliss up the inside of him, and Richard Bliss falling in behind. So Stuart Bliss gets the advantage. Dyer second, and the pole sitter, Richard Bliss, down to third as they head down the avenue.
There they go then, down into Cascades. A 15-minute race again it's meant to be, subject to any safety cars that we may have to get involved, but the pack now pouring through Cascades onto Lakeside Straight. Bit of shuffling going on, as already Andy has described, and you'll see the leader, or leaders, plural probably it will be, going into Shell Oils for the first time in a moment, I think.
Yes, there will not be a lot of separation here in the early stages. A bit of side-by-side action for 4th position there as they head through Island Bend, and one car on the grass further back. That's a dangerous place to be. Bounces back. Oh, no, and collects another car. Didn't quite spot the number on that, but there are 2 cars in the gravel trap. One, I fear, maybe the 30 of Adam Reynolds, perhaps. We will, again, await confirmation at the end of the lap. We'll see who does or doesn't come through. But when a car ends up on the grass there, Ian, it rarely ends well.
I'm afraid so. So he went speared across the track as you described, and then T-boned another car. Is this going to be... We're seeing a picture of the BMW.
Red flag.
And the race is being stopped. Although I suspect it's simply because it's early on in the race and the cars... can be
drivers choosing to stick around for a second season, which is excellent to see.
I'm afraid we've lost 20 minutes or so over this.
Yes, let's hope, touch wood, that that is the last of the delays. Let's hope they all get cleanly through the first lap. It was the tiniest little moment, really, that triggered that for Duncan Stone. Only got a wheel on the grass at Island, but it does have a habit of dragging you further off the road then. And from there, you're a bit of a passenger, really, as the driver. So hopefully they've learned from that, and they'll keep it clean then. As 15 minutes of racing, take 2 this of the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup, about to get underway. Can Richard Bliss get off pole position a bit better this time? Let's find out. The lights go out, away they go. And it is a better start, and this time it's actually Andrew Dyer that is away slowly from the outside of row 2. That sort of bottles everybody up. So Bliss, number 17, Richard Bliss leads the way. Second place for Dyer. Third place is going to be Stuart Bliss. Then side by side for 4th as they make their way through Old Hall Corner. They get it back to single file, though, as they come out the other side. And I think, Ian, they've all got through cleanly. See what you did there. Oh, no. Oh. That was Adam Reynolds again involved for the second time. Number 30, and Dan Selleck pointing the wrong way. So Selleck, I think, spun, and Reynolds had to take avoiding action, but Adam not having the best of days so far. Yeah. Yes, I think you're right. So Richard Bliss leads as they come out of the Shell hairpin. Second place is Seb Melrose with all of that extra tyre temperature he got. He's come from 6th on the grid to 2nd in the first half a lap. So Melrose is flying. Can he go after the leader? That's the next question. He's struggling, though, for the time being to break away from, I think that's Andrew Dyer in 3rd place ahead of Stuart Bliss. So Stuart this time not getting off the line quite so handily, is still in 4th as they head towards Hislops.
You can now head up Clay Hill towards Druids under the Oulton Park Bridge. A few names in this time on that bridge. And into Druids, Andy.
Yes, they head into the double apex right-hander, and train here of 5 cars squabbling over second place. They could not be a lot closer though. Certainly Andrew Dyer appears to have been pushing Seb Melrose around most of this lap. To no avail though, because Richard Bliss is getting away slightly. He's got about 2 or 3 city car lengths between himself and second place, which is about 1 regular car length, as they head through the dip and back over Deer Leap for the first time. So it will be Richard Bliss that holds on to the advantage this time. Melrose in second. And will Dyer choose to work with Melrose here to go after the leader, or is he going to try and get that second place back?
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars in a train for second down to 6th place. But Richard Bliss it is who has the advantage. The cars continue to stream through Deer Leap at the tail end of the field. The leader is getting away, turns through Cascades for the second time, Andy.
Yes, he does. So Melrose, having made all that progress, is not really getting away from Dyer, and is a little bit of a cork in the bottle for the time being, but not that he's slow. It's just hard to break away in these cars. They're not the most aerodynamic of things, and so the slipstream does have a bit of an effect. Of course, they're underpowered too, so any aerodynamic advantage you can get from a tow is really going to help you. And so that's hindering Seb's attempts to break away from Dyer here. Through Shell they go.
Well, he's got his experience of slipstreaming from his Formula 4 racing, so he ought to be able to make something of this. It does seem at the moment as though Richard Bliss is maintaining his advantage, not being caught. And yes, he's clipping the curbs as he comes out of the Britain's chicane over Hilltop and heads down towards Hislops and Knickerbrook.
Yes, where it appeared Melrose was feeling the need to defend the inside line, but he does come back over to the outside again. So, of course, the cars are all very evenly matched. It's hard to out-brake somebody when the cars are all capable of braking at more or less the same point. But Dyer again leaning on the rear bumper of Melrose through Knickerbrook Corner, and he almost gets the overlap heading up Clay Hill. He's weaving around this way and that delays him and allows Stuart Bliss now to draw alongside him. So Stuart Bliss looking to the inside line for third, heading towards Druids.
So it is still the pole position starter, Richard Bliss, who has the advantage. They go through Druids. But as Andy says, Stuart Bliss is becoming a factor now in the fight for second place. Under the Paul Warwick Bridge into Lodge Corner in a moment comes the leader, 17 from 7. We have a change there. Number 91 going through, gaining a place. That's Liam Browning. Now he had a poor start to the first time around, didn't he? But
yes.
He's going well now.
Yeah, Liam Browning finished 4th in last year's championship, had a handful of podium finishes, including a second place here at Oulton Park. So Liam goes well around this place, but he's feeling the pressure from Dyer, who throws it through Old Hall Corner, gets bounced out wide over the curb, and that rather lost him momentum coming off the corner. But Andrew Dyer is spectacular to watch in this one. He may be fading down the order into 5th place, but it's not for the want of trying. He is really pushing hard.
Yeah, out of Cascades then. So the lead that Richard Bliss had at the end of the first lap was 1.3, at the end of the second lap, I mean, was 1.3 seconds. And then you could cover the next 5 cars with a similar sort of margin.
Not a lot in it at all. Further back, there is more good squabbling going on. Number 73 there, running in 22nd place, 73 is Andrew Payne.
Yeah.
Fighting as if the race lead was on the line. Lots of novice crosses back there, as you'd expect, but still having some good close racing.
And a 10-second penalty for Sebastian Melrose for a false start, or a phasal start, actually, according to the way it's been typed on the screen. But it probably means he jumped it.
Yes, which rather explains how he gained 5 places in the first 3 corners or so. So it wasn't that rigorous tyre warming up that he did. It was a little bit too much evenness off the line.
And 10 seconds will drop him way down the order of the way things are going, won't it?
Yes, down to 7th at the moment, behind Elliot Lettis, number 3.
Oh, perhaps not quite as fast as I expected. Certainly past that train of cars behind him. He'll drop back behind that.
There, on screen, is the number 30 of Adam Reynolds, who's already had 2 incidents in this race. He's just gone past the 137, so that puts him... where does that? Sorry, 131. Excuse me. That's 19th place that he's taken. He's picked up 2 places already on this lap. But Adam been qualified 10. Really ought to be up there inside the top 8 or so probably by this point. But despite being involved in 2 tangles, that number 30 car still looks in pretty good condition.
Yes.
slops. 1-1-3-1. Chris Hetherington's Toyota Igo. As they head up Clay Hill, though, the leader's Ian back with us.
Yes, so the leader over the line, his lead is extending, so Richard Bliss leads now by 1.76 seconds.
Oh, dearie me. And change for third as Liam Browning finds a very small gap on the inside of Stuart Bliss, that was for third.
Here they come then, two abreast, almost into Cascades. That isn't going to work. There's no way that was going to work without contact. And which one is it who spun?
Liam Browning.
Oh dear, it wasn't really his fault.
No, that was Stuart Bliss up the inside of him, I think.
Yeah.
So,
a blissful moment, I'm afraid, for Browning.
Yes, Liam did well to save that, actually.
It could have been much worse.
Yeah. Wasn't collected by anybody, but that will have delayed both of them. And rather let Seb Melrose off the hook, actually, because Melrose was really under pressure from those two. So you can see them now on the screens heading out of Shell with Bliss of the Richard variety leading the way. Melrose in second place. I think that is still Stuart Bliss in third, but some way back now. And Elliot Lettis, who started the lap 7th, is up into 4th place, perhaps. They really did delay each other there, didn't they?
Yeah, your point about Sebastian Melrose being let off the hook is a very valid one, because he can now just concentrate on trying to close down the leader, but pulling away from anything behind, and that may negate his 10-second penalty by the end. How far away is the end? 6.5 minutes just under to go.
Yes, and of course now he's only defending from one car. Perhaps his lap times will improve, and that will further help him to overcome this 10-second penalty that he's got. Into the pit lane, number 73, Andrew Payne. And there was another car in a lap earlier as well, with number 6 of Stephen Turner. So 2 cars in the pits with troubles. You can see that Payne's car is moving again, but whether it's heading to the paddock or back on track, I'm not too sure. Meanwhile, into Druid's corner, Liam Browning recovering. He's already got himself back ahead of Christopher Mackenzie. Who was in 6th position, but I believe this is now the fight for 5th.
It will be. It's making its way towards Lodge Corner to complete their 4th lap. And we've got over 5.5 minutes remaining as the leader crosses the line for the 4th time. His lead is now nearly 2.5 seconds. So for Richard Bliss, it's plain sailing, I think.
Yeah, when you build that sort of a gap in this championship, it's hard for the rest to gain on you. Melrose hasn't yet shown that he's got the sort of pace to challenge Richard. Might have been different, of course, if we hadn't had that early red flag, because Richard had fallen back into the pack, rather. What's this battle coming out of Old Hall Corner? This is, I think, 8th place-ish, isn't it, heading through Cascades. The battle between the 310 of John Nicholson. You've got 15 Dyer behind him. Now 15, of course, Andrew Dyer, who started 2nd. Was delayed earlier on. There he is, the all-black car, right in behind the number 65 of Jepp. So actually Jepp's got ahead of him, the yellow machine. And Richard Jepp, that is, started 9th, but Dyer's back up the inside at Shell and reclaims what is 9th position. Dyer, lost 4 positions on that previous lap. That was not a good lap for him.
Yeah, down to 9th place. As you say, started on the front row.
Yes, he must have exited stage right somewhere at Cascades when they tangled in front. And Bliss and oh no! Contact! Dyer over hill top. He got an overlap there on, is that the 310, I think, of John Nicholson? It is, the pink car. And I don't think John knew he was there. That could have ended in tears.
So some close racing going on, sometimes a little bit too close. But then bear in mind the drivers, in many cases, lack of experience. 65 Richard Jepp, we saw on the screen then.
Yeah, back down to 10th now is Jepp. Meanwhile, 2nd place, it is just a 2-car fight now, but what a fight Seb Melrose has on his hands, because the fast starting, initially anyway, Stuart Bliss is trying to get alongside him, and he might have found a gap. No, Melrose closes the door heading towards Old Hall Corner, but Melrose on the defensive line. He might hold on to the place going into the corner, but could be slow off it.
Of course, Stuart Dyer doesn't have to be doing this, because he's going to get the place anyway, isn't it? Because of the 10-second penalty that Sebastian Melrose has, so there's no point in, but he probably hasn't been given the message. in fighting it out at risky having a moment, but he's still at it, which is good to watch. But it's not really necessary for him.
Especially because as a guest driver, I wouldn't imagine that Melrose is scoring points either. So second place, whichever way you look at it, second place is Stuart Bliss's, but
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't want to get held up because Elliot Lettis has just set the fastest lap of the race behind them.
Yeah, he's pressing on very well there.
2 minutes, 16.7 that, which is half a second quicker than the pole position time, proving the point Ian made about track conditions improving.
Elliot Lettis started, I think you may have said this already, on the 7th row. And so he's done well to be where he is.
Which is one of the things I enjoy about mixed conditions in qualifying.
Yeah, yes.
It jumbles the grid up a little. And yeah, he's right with them now, so three cars almost together now, heading out of Britain's for what will be the penultimate time. Still Sebastian Melrose in second place, car number 7, but number 18, Stuart Bliss, and number 3, Elliot Lettis, are starting to really ramp up the pressure behind him as they head into the Hislop chicane. Melrose is going to have to draw on all of those years of experience here. Say all of those years, he's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but he's been racing for some time, and hopefully has picked up a few defensive tricks, because he's going to need them here.
Yeah, really, it could be any one of those three who'll take second place on the road, but both of the others will gain the benefit of the penalty that Sebastian Melrose has. So I don't think Sebastian's going to finish on the podium. He may get across the line in second place. Elliot Lettis bobbing from side to side as the cars come into Lodge Corner for the penultimate time. Leader getting ever further ahead, completes his 6th lap, goes on to lap 7. What's going on for second place?
Same order, but as close as you like between Melrose, Bliss and Lettis. And Elliot Lettis, the 3rd car in line, gets a really good exit from Old Hall Corner. Now you can overtake at Cascades, but as Ian Browning found earlier on, it's not that easy to do. And Stuart Bliss, a big wobble, there's a big bump there just as you come down into Cascades. They're almost in second and 3rd place car. Further back, more side-by-side action. That is 7th place. In fact, that's Andrew Dyer, who's just picked up that. Well, he picked up 8th place, and now he's got past Christopher Mackenzie, I think, for 6th. That was the move being made into Old Hall Corner. So, decent recovery this for Andrew, but having qualified on the front row, you would have hoped for rather more than 6th place.
Warning flag about driving standards for Christopher Mackenzie. I think on the whole driving standards, I know we've had 1 or 2 instances, but driving standards have been pretty good for mainly inexperienced drivers in this race.
I agree with that.
3.2 seconds was the lead that Richard Bliss has as he started this final lap over Sebastian Melrose, who leads his trio up over Hilltop. I think they're fanning out to be trying to be 3 abreast, aren't they?
Yeah, well, Elliot Lettis is on the grass, so yes, I don't think he's been given a lot of room here by Bliss. Melrose is still second, but Elliot Lettis keeps on coming down the outside line. Now it's the last of the late breakers. Lettis sweeps around the outside into the first part of his lock. That gives him the inside for the left-hander, but Bliss will surely try and retain the inside into Nickelbrook Corner, which he does. This again is letting Melrose off the hook. He's pulling clear from these two now, who just went side by side through the tightest part of the circuit with minimal contact. That was impressive.
A good side-by-side race because it continues into Druids.
Lettis sideways, hangs on. Oh, and we've got a car off in a reasonably big way at Island Bend.
Well, we'll get to the checkered flag, I think. Maybe we'll stop the race sooner.
Yes, because that checkered flag is about to wave, actually, for the race winner, because it is going to be Richard Bliss with another lights to flag victory. Round number 1 of the Nankang Tyre BRSCC City Car Cup goes to Richard Bliss in the Toyota Aygo, 2nd on the road to Seb Melrose, and 3rd is very, very close at the line. But by 0.4 of a second, it will be Stuart Bliss ahead of Elliot Lettis. They, of course, now get bumped up to 2nd and 3rd, respectively. Liam Browning will get 4th and Christopher Mackenzie 5th. So I think Melrose, having crossed the line in 2nd, will drop down to 6th.
Well, he's got a chance to do it all again later on in the day without jumping the start.